Hi, welcome to a new video, and in this one we're going to be looking at this, which is the Praktica BX20. So this was the second SLR that I ever owned, not this particular one, this is one I picked up on eBay, but I bought one of these when I was very young, 19, 20 odd, and only the second time in my life that I've ever bought a brand new camera. The other one will be the subject of another video because I do also have one of those. It's sat somewhere up on the shelf there. But yes, I bought a Praktica BX20 and I, for the life of me, can't actually remember what lens I bought with it or what lenses I had with it, but I bought one a long time ago and I wanted to rebuy one just to see what it was like. So, the BX20, what is it? Well, it's the second to last SLR that Praktica ever made. They did make a BX20S, which was very, very similar to the BX20. It had DX coding, and also had a slightly different, more moulded shape to the front grip there, and the rest of it, which I actually think it made it look a bit more melted. I prefer this. It's different to the M42 Prakticas in that this is a bayonet mount on there. It is a Praktica proprietary bayonet mount, although it is long suspected to be heavily based on the Pentax K mount. Although they're not interchangeable. I have heard horror stories, and back when I worked in the trade many, many years ago, saw people who've managed to get Pentax K lenses stuck on Praktica PB bodies. Now, I picked this one up with 3 lenses for £35 on eBay. So there's BX20 with a Pentacon 50mm f1.8. The other 2 lenses I got with it were a 28mm 2.8, again Pentacon on that, and a Cirrus zoom lens, and this is a, I believe, 28-70. Yes, it's a 28-70. That's a single touch push-pull twisty on there. And I then bought, because I do know I had one of these a long time ago, a 135mm 2.8 Pentacon, just a nice integrated lens hood, metal construction, really nicely built lens, this one, and I remembered it being a good solid lens and a nice performer, and indeed it did turn out to be the case. So, what feature-wise does a BX20 and this plethora of lenses have? Well, you've got ISO coding from 12 ISO all the way up to 3200, but if you look, and hopefully that will focus on that, yeah, well, they numbered those really weirdly, changing the font orientation, which is a bit annoying. You can see there you've got the shutter speed selector just here, and auto, because this is an aperture priority and manual camera. You've got also a little window at the front that allows you to see the chosen aperture, so it's kind of Judas window as they call them. That allows you to see the chosen aperture in the viewfinder. When you fired a shot but haven't wound it on, that little Judas window will also be highlighted in red, so you know the shutter isn't cocked. You've got exposure compensation on there, self-timer and a depth of field, depth of focus, preview button just there, little grip, battery and tripod mount, and you'll notice just here you could get winders for these. I never had one, never really saw the need to get one. One interesting thing, the actual indicator mark just there for your chosen mode or shutter speed also presses down to engage the rewind, so you can rewind your film using that. It also thankfully does away with the old M42 quick load system that was on some of the MTL etc. series Prakticas, and this has got a much more conventional loading to it. So what film did I choose to shoot for these? with this? Well, you'll have noticed that some of the images that have been shown while I've been talking have been black and white, and I used this Fomapan 100 classic. Now, I must confess, I've never used this stuff before. I had read a bit about it. I knew that it was going to be visible grain for its speed, which it most definitely has. It's an old school cubic grain on there rather than the T grain you get on the T-Max and the Ilford films, and much more recent film stock. So, but it's got a nice even tone to it, so although it's quite grainy, it works well with it. It's a very contrasty film, that much is absolutely clear. It is very, very, very contrasty. So you can get a good range of whites and blacks. It doesn't quite have that depth of greys that you'll get out of Ilford film stock, for example. But I quite like the look and feel of it overall. The one thing I will say is it's definitely got, and this leads to the contrastiness, a fairly narrow exposure latitude on it. Now, I have read in places that people say it's got a wide exposure latitude, and I think they're getting mixed up there with, you can push or pull this, I would imagine, quite successfully, and it's relatively forgiving of the exposure itself, but in terms of the exposure latitude of, you know, where the blackest blacks and the whitest whites start and stop, that is not a wide exposure latitude at all. This is a film stock that's going to give you burnt whites and crushed blacks in just about every shot, but I actually quite liked it, and I'm definitely going to be shooting it again. I enjoyed using it, and it's got a look to it. As far as using it with this combo goes, the Praktica's a good solid body. It's reasonably well made. It's very cheap plastic. There's not a huge amount of metal in here, but there is definitely some underneath, I would warrant. The lenses, certainly all the ones I've got, are metal mounts, certainly feel metal bodied and are well constructed. They're reasonably sharp, they've got a good amount of contrast to them, and they're well put together. It's a nice, easy camera to use. You've got LED metering in the viewfinder, which shows you what your chosen shutter speed is, or the shutter speed it's going to use for the aperture you have selected when you're in auto mode. Overall, works really well, and with one caveat, I'd actually say it makes a good, cheap beginner's camera to pick up, because, as I say, I picked this body up with 3 lenses for £35, and the 135 2.8 I picked up for £10, so £45, that's a camera and 4 lenses. Now, I must admit, I didn't use the Cirrus zoom lens in any of these shots. Everything you're looking at is using the 3 Pentacon lenses, so the 50, the 28 or the 135. If you're starting out in film photography, it's not a bad camera to pick up. It's cheap, they're reasonably reliable. This one is in extremely good condition, so if you can find one in that, you know, it is a worthwhile buy. The major caveat I would say with this is that proprietary Praktica bayonet mount. You will not find the range of lenses out there that you will, say, for something like an Olympus OM mount, Minolta MD mounts, Nikon, Canon manual focus, all of these kind of things. Hell, even M42 screw fits, you're going to find a hell of a lot more lenses out there than you are for the PB. It's going to limit the amount of lenses that you can use. Now, you can get a PB to M42 adapter, but they're not easy to find because, as far as I'm aware, only Praktica made them, and they didn't sell massively well back in the day, so you may even struggle to pick one of those up. But as a result, the cameras and the lenses are very cheap, so it's kind of that trade-off. It's going to be a difficult camera to buy a lot of lenses for, but the ones you can get are solid. The bodies are 10 a penny, just pick one up in decent condition, and yeah, it's a good solid little camera that is worth looking at and worth going for if you're starting off in film photography. So that's my quick look at the Praktica BX20 and its lenses. If you found this video interesting, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care everyone. Thanks very much.